HandsOn3 deals with inheritance. For Try It Yourself 9.6, you are going to open your restaurant attributes and you're going to save it as restaurant inheritance. You're going to keep the class intact, and the main program you can change however you want, but this class section should not change. So it's just this part that you're going to want to adjust. So you'll save it under a completely different name. And I would actually just get rid of, you can change this so it says 9.6. That might help you later on keep all of these straight. And this is going to be kind of your starting point. And you're going to have to add basically a child class. So you need an ice cream stand is a specific kind of restaurant. Write a class called ice cream stand that inherits from restaurant. And it says to add an attribute called flavors that stores a list, okay, of ice cream flavors. Write a method that displays these flavors. So you're going to have to kind of iterate through a list. And then you need an instance of ice cream stand. And then you have to call the method that shows you everything in the flavor list. So I did include an example in the lecture that's similar to what you have to do. Okay, so this is the store and specialty store example. Okay, and you can see you are going to do ice cream stand, but this is specialty store, but you're going to set them up similar. Okay, and you can use super to call the base or to call the parent. And then this is using items, and you're going to have flavors here. This little display items is similar to what you need to do for display flavors. Okay, it's iterating through a list, the same thing that you have to do. Okay, and then you'll notice that everything pretty much that's in here is very similar to what you are being asked to do here. Okay, the primary difference is I'm letting them add more than one, and you only have to add one. However, if you want to have this functionality, you can go ahead and add that in. Then for the user class, you are going to save it as user inheritance, and you're going to do Try It Yourself 9.7 and 9.8. Okay, so 9.7, you're going to be adding an administrator. So you're going to do a class called admin that inherits from the user. So this is very similar to what you're doing with ice cream stand. Okay, you're going to have an extra attribute in the admin class called privileges that stores a list of strings. So this is another one that's going to have a list. And the privileges will be basically what an administrator is able to do, or what you're going to allow them to do. So they can post, they can delete, that kind of thing. And then you're going to write a method called show privileges that basically goes through the list and shows the privileges that that administrator has. So I thought you may need some help with this one. So I actually have an example that is similar. And this example is for magical creatures. So I've got a creature class, and then I have a child class called magical. And in this child class, you can see I've got the extra attribute and how I'm handling this. And it actually has, you'll notice, another class, and that kind of gets into 9.8. So we might as well move along to 9.8. So in addition to having this child class, you're also going to have a totally separate class called privileges. So you're going to have your user, which is a parent to admin, and you're going to have a third class in there called privileges. And this class should have one attribute, privileges, and it's going to store the list of strings. So basically, what you're going to do is take the information that you had up here and move it into this class. Then they want you to add privileges as an instance of the admin class. So this is a little tougher. So I am showing you how I kind of set that up, but I think you might need a little more help with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through this. So let me close this. All right, so here is my user class. And then right below that, I've got my child class called admin. And you can see that the constructor is pulling in everything that user needs plus the new permissions that admin needs. Then I've got using super basically to pass along the data that my user needs. Now, my user class, it said to add additional things that you would want to store. So mine might look different than yours. That is okay. All right. And then it wants us to kind of separate out privileges and the administrator. So in the privilege class, the only attribute is privileges. So I've got that set up. And then I have a method called show privileges. Privileges is a list. So going through the list is very similar to what I had to do with flavors, okay, in the previous exercise. Okay, so it's kind of the same process here. What's different and what is tricky about this, okay, is that then you need to create basically an object attribute in admin. So I'm creating privileges in admin, and it's an object. I've got the privileges class here, and I'm passing the permissions to that class. And that is how you have to set it up. Okay, that is the tricky part. Okay, then for the rest of this, I'm letting them input everything. So whether you do that or not, that's going to be up to you. I actually put it in a loop. You don't have to do that. But, how many users would you like to enter? So I'm letting them enter the number, and you can see I'm converting it into a number right there. And that's because I'm using it in my while loop. And so then I'm having them enter all that user information, and your information might be different because if you remember it, it gave you some leeway as far as what you were going to store. I have a little loop here to make sure the passwords are the same because I chose password for something I was going to enter. And then I get down here where I'm prompting them for that privilege list. And then you'll notice that I have something that I'm calling temp list. And so as long as they want to enter these privileges, I'm adding to this temporary list. Okay, so the privileges would be things like can add accounts, can delete accounts, can modify accounts, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so when they do quit, then I'm done adding their privileges. And so then I just pass along this information they've input, and I'm passing the list of privileges. Okay, and that is creating a new user object. And then I decided, because I'm going to let them do more than one, I have a user list, so that new user objects gets added to my list. And then when I'm all done, I go through that user list and I just print out this information. Okay, so that's how I kind of tackled this. And the tricky part really is adding that object for privileges to admin as an attribute. Okay, so I've kind of walked you through this. I also gave you an example that is similar as well. So you can actually copy and paste this. I thought it was a fun example because I've got these magical creatures. And in this example, here's where I've got the object attribute. Okay, it's with powers. Okay, so everything else is kind of the same as what we just looked at.